Gina or Jen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Soul Sunday. Listen, guys, we always talk about hope. We talk about innovation, motivation, transformation, and of course, we always try to help you get to your destination. Now, we know, and you know, when you come to this show, that if we're doing anything less than that, that we're not only wasting your time, we're wasting our time. So this evening, we have a very dynamic guest with us, none other than Pastor Donald Lavelle of the Corpus Christi Christian Fellowship Church. And Dr. Lavelle will be talking with us about several topics, but we're going to pinpoint one. Dr. Lavelle and I had a very interesting conversation. Many of you are aware of the world, and we're dealing with COVID-19 and people making comments, and sometimes ministers make comments, pastors, bishops, doctors, attorneys, and there's always going to be somebody that's unhappy. But this evening, we're going to talk about it from a faith point of view, a biblical point of view, and we know that there have been several preachers out there that have made statements, and for whatever reason, God decided it was their time to go home. And Pastor Lavelle was sharing with me that he is in support of anything that have to do with God. So this evening, he's going to share with us some of his biblical understanding and conversation as it relates to COVID-19, as it relates to the church, as far as people attending, not attending, and that piece of the conversation. Now, we all know that the conversation has so many parts, and we know that people have attitude about anything when it comes to religion. So we are not, I will say this a third time, we are not telling anybody what you should think, how you should think. All we're doing is having an honest and open discussion. If you are like we are, then we all know that God is the ultimate, and that everything that happens, good, bad, or indifferent, it has to pass by him. So guys, listen, we want you to sit back and relax. Pastor Lavelle is working on coming to our virtual studio. And those of you that follow me all the time, you know that many times we have glitches with people being able to get in. Don't ask me why. I'm not an engineer, but I certainly have checked with our engineers, and they can't tell me why either. So we just want you to sit back and be comfortable. But guys, listen, as we await the arrival of Pastor Lavelle, I want you to think about some things here. And those things, again, are very simple. When we talk about COVID-19, and you have reports coming out today, you had some coming out yesterday, you have some people saying that if you're asymptomatic, then you can't spread it. Then you have some people saying that if you're asymptomatic and you don't have the symptoms of the fever and the coughing and the runny eyes and that kind of thing, then you can't spread it. And some say that you can, and that's why it's called asymptomatic. So we want you guys, it looks like Pastor Lavelle has arrived. Pastor Lavelle, please feel free to, there's a camera next to me, that little square that says grab this spot. That is a camera. Please feel free, kind sir, to click that button. And I know you have another meeting this afternoon, and we can continue to move. But I'm looking at your picture on the Get Vocal set here. And all you have to do now is click where it says grab this spot. And you should see me running my mouth right about now, Pastor. But we want to thank our audience. We have a great audience here this evening. I'm seeing some new people that I haven't seen before. I'm assuming that you guys are supporters of Pastor Lavelle, and that you are from the Corpus Christi Christian Fellowship Church. And I just want to welcome you to our fourth coming of Soul Sunday. We do other shows on Friday nights, and that show is called the Nobody Asked Me Guys Show, and we are well over 125 shows there. So we do want to invite you back on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Your pastor will be joining us also on Zoom. So those that may have had some difficulty getting on this Get Vocal site, when we do our next show on Zoom, then it'll be much easier to connect. So Pastor Lavelle, I'm seeing your picture, so I know, I thought that was Pastor Lavelle, but if you get your picture clicked in, then please come on. But we do want to welcome some new guests that I can't see all the guests, all of my monitors, but I'm seeing we have several new guests here, and we want to, Jen is here, and also looks like Lyris is here as well, that are our new guests. And I don't want our old guests to get jealous. We were just inviting our new guests. You know how you guys do at church? you have the visitors to stand and you ask them if they have anything to say or if they want to share. So we just want to do that. But listen, let's get back to the subject at hand as we work on and if you have relatives and friends, I do want to share this with you that would like to come on and FaceTime Pastor Lavelle. Please tell them, make sure that they are in their Google Chrome browser. If you're not in your Google Chrome browser, for some reason, it will not bring you to our virtual studio. And that's why I'm giving you this disclaimer. I apologize for that. We've talked to the engineers about it over and over and over. But if you're not in your Google Chrome browser, it will not bring you to the virtual studio. So tell your friends and neighbors that want to sign on to go to their Google Chrome browsers. So guys, listen, and some of you may want to grab a camera while we're waiting on Pastor Lavelle, and you may want to express, talk about this COVID-19. On our show Friday night, we had Dr. Jean Lud Cadet from the Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. Dr. Cadet is a research specialist, and we talked a lot about COVID and how and the disparity in the African American communities or in our less served communities. And Dr. Cadet cleared up a lot of things for us in that vernacular. So we all understand that unless we are scientists, then we really need to be careful about sharing information just based on what some politician is trying to tell us. Because, we know everybody tries to politicize everything, but we want you to be safe. We want you to be safe. We want your family to be safe. And it's just one of those things. And unfortunately, not only did Dr. Cadet family be immediately impacted by COVID-19, so did my family. Two sisters, and one was the baby daughter of my baby niece, and the other one was the granddaughter of the elder niece, and both husbands. So it certainly can hit your families, and it can devastate your homes. So guys, we want you to sit back. Now, if you have any questions right now while you're waiting on Pastor Lavelle to get through, please put those questions in the box, or you can grab one of those cameras. Those segments on the screen where you see grab this spot, those are cameras. You can grab one of those cameras, you can come on, you can share any information you'd like to share, or you can ask any questions that you would like to ask. But we just want to remind you again that when you are talking to friends and family and they want to come on and be on live with Pastor Lavelle, is that they go to Google Chrome, make sure they're on that browser. You go to getvocal.com and you can look up Melvin Lars's channel or whatever. There will be a link there, and hit that link and it'll bring you right to the virtual studio. So again, we welcome you. And I just want to, I guess I'll do a quick commercial right here if you will allow me to do so. I've mentioned the Nobody Asked Me Guy show already that comes on Friday nights. And I don't know if many of you may be sports fans or not, but our show is a variety show. I'm doing a commercial right now, guys. Our show is a variety show. We have actors, athletes. We have a whole gamut. And those of you that are familiar with Clifton Davis, that plays Ephraim Tyler on Madam Secretary. Clifton is a personal friend, but he also comes on from time to time, and we talk about some things. Those of you that follow the athletics, and if you're familiar with Doug Williams, who's the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl, Doug has been here. If you're familiar with Dr. Gallo from Grambling State University, the president from Grambling State University, he's been here, and just a ton of individuals that we're very proud of. Now, most of you are familiar with the movie Joe Clark and Lean on Me. The next person we're going to have on this show won't be Mr. Clark, but I'll be very honest with you. I have a lot of respect for Mr. Clark, but he's equally as ready to go. His name is Dr. George McKenna III, and he'll be with us in a couple of weeks. The George McKenna story aired in 1986. It was just Lean on Me in Los Angeles. Denzel Washington, guys, yes, the great Denzel Washington played the part of my boss. I worked at Washington as well. I have no speaking roles in the movie, but let me tell you, it's a very powerful movie. It's very impending. And when people start talking about education and education reform, you can't talk to a person that would be more versed than Dr. George McKenna III. So, we do want to invite you as we are doing our little commercial while we wait on the glitches to be worked out and Dr. Lavelle joins us. So if you have any questions for us, feel free to put those in the box and feel free to grab one of those cameras and come on in. And Pastor Lavelle, I hear you on the phone still trying to get it right. And don't feel badly because we know that it will be right. I see Vera has joined us. Vera, thank you for coming. We're having a few glitches here. We're just waiting on Pastor Lavelle to get in with us. He's working diligently along with Andrea to get hooked in with us. So if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to ask those at any time. And you're not here to hear me, but Pastor Lavelle will be with us. And this show is a show that talks about hope. It talks about innovation, motivation, transformation, and we work very hard to help you realize your destiny. Because I believe very strongly in Dr. Miles Monroe's statement, die empty. So we try to make sure that we die empty on the show. Looks like Pastor Lavelle, I think I see you, sir. Just grab that spot. Just grab that spot. So we want you guys to be with us here. And we're glad you're here, and we are so happy that you're here. So I see Pastor Lavelle has arrived, and we're just waiting on him to come into the studio. So Pastor Lavelle, to hit that where it says grab that spot and come on into the studio, sir. And again, welcome to Soul Sunday, where everything we do is extraordinary. Nothing is ordinary.
Wow. Hello, Reverend Lars.
Pastor Lavelle, so happy to see you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing better now that I've gotten hold of you.
Well, listen, I tell you what, that's not a problem. We're just so happy that you're here. And in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you and get things started. And I know some of the people here already know you, but for us that don't know you, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat. We have with us none other than Pastor Donald Lavelle. Now, Pastor Lavelle is founder and president of the Fellowship International and senior pastor of Corpus Christi Christian Fellowship. Pastor Don has been instrumental in assembling and equipping a network of ministries worldwide, as well as assembling and equipping a local body whose members represent over 38 nations and whose vision is to take the message of Christ to all the nations of the world. Don Lavelle and his wife Marva resides in Corpus Christi, Texas, along with their children and their grandchildren. Now, Donald G. Lavelle is one truly sent by God, ladies and gentlemen. He's sent to the body of Christ. Pastors and leaders worldwide regard him as a true father in the faith, as one who dies daily for the gospel of Christ. His life and his preaching bring change wherever he is. As a gifted communicator, he preaches the gospel with power and passion and teaches the living Christ with clarity and simplicity. Pastor Don, thank you so very much for joining us, sir.
I am so pleased. It's my honor, my pleasure.
Well, listen, it's our honor and pleasure, and we know that it's been a task. And let me say respectfully to you, Pastor, and to our guest. I'm happy we have tons of guests that are with me all the time, but we have new guests. And let me simply share with them again, is that many times there are glitches getting to this site. And my old guests, they know that already. And so we do want to apologize. We're not going to belabor you with that. Pastor, now, you and I talked, been in conversation, and I know we both are very passionate about obviously God and Christianity, and you and I were talking about situations where you wrote a few papers, and you talked about this particular pastor who was being ostracized somewhat. People were angry because of all the COVID-19, and we were talking about God and how this thing's parallel. Will you please, will you kind of give us an introduction to that, or kind of share with us where that all sits?
Well, when the news came out about Bishop Gerald Glenn making statements that God was bigger than coronavirus, and that he was not afraid to die, and he was not going to live his life in fear. Those were professions of faith for me. For every born again believer must have that attitude. That attitude is not necessarily defiance, it's faith. But faith does defy that which is not faith. But I didn't think that he was trying to necessarily pick a fight, but he was making a statement of faith. And as he made those statements of faith, many derided him in the media. And I'm not one of those who bashes the media. I know sometimes we all get it wrong, so I'm not doing that. We do know that there are media or people in the media who will practice disinformation. Some of them are careless and there's misinformation, but disinformation is intentional. However, I don't bash it, but I thought the media got it wrong in this case, in that they went on all together. They sort of ganged up on the bishop. Of course, he died. And they ganged up on him and they made him look like he had made a ridiculous statement. They said, well, this is a ludicrous statement. Why would he make such a statement? Is the guy nuts or whatever? I thought, no, that bishop was in perfect alignment with our heroes of faith. Let's say the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, as they faced the tyranny of Nebuchadnezzar and his golden idol, golden statue, and also his edict to bow down and worship. Or they could choose, if by not bowing down, by not going along with society, that they had a fiery furnace to face. Well, what Bishop Glenn was saying was no different than our holy scriptures say. And so I took it upon myself. As a matter of fact, I contacted members of his family and whom I knew, because I had, as a young preacher, he was a younger preacher, but we had preached for his uncle many years ago. So I knew him, but not very, very well. So I asked them if it would be okay if I somewhat eulogized him in messages. And so in a series of messages I did entitled The Church, I talked about how the church must be at the forefront of these things rather than in the back, that Jesus died for a glorious church, and that without spot, without wrinkle, she should be holy and without blemish. And so I took this as an opportunity to eulogize the bishop, because I thought he made a statement that we should all make.
Pastor, that's very powerful. And as we talk about COVID-19, as we talk about making statements, and unfortunately, and I do say unfortunately, simply because I know that even though we as Christians prepare to go and meet our Maker, most of the time, whether we say it out loud or not, we kind of wish we may have more birthdays than we actually have. And so that's my reason for using the word unfortunate, that the pastor did transition. However, when we have individuals, especially parishioners, with you being a pastor, especially parishioners that may take offense and take things out of context when it is expressed in situations like the pandemic we have now, and you talk about the universal you, talk about COVID and how obviously God and it is above it all. How do we kind of get them back focused, if you will?
Well, Reverend Large, what I have said to our church is that we must exercise our faith every day, in that wearing a mask is not living in fear and faithlessness. Wearing a mask is in our interest, but also in the interest of the public, that Christians must also have the best interest of the public at large. If we don't have the best interest, what do we have to present them? We present them the gospel because we have the best interest of them. We have their best interest rather at heart. So what we want them to do is to live with Jesus everlastingly. We know that Jesus saves eternally, and so we want them to have that. So we live our lives in accord with the gospel. We show them that we love them, and we tell them the truth of God. Well, likewise with COVID-19, we must not join sides in the political wranglings and debates. They're so foolish to those of us who can see. They're just absolutely foolish whether to wear a mask or not to wear a mask. If I might infect my wife, my mom, my dad, my granddad, my little baby, why should I not wear a mask? Even if it were not true, why don't I wear a mask until I find out for certainty whether it is true or not? So I say to the Christian community, come out from among them and be separate. Come out from among them because we are now consorting with those who would play games with our lives, even play games with our Christianity. I have this big black Bible on my desk, a big black Bible. I like those. The one I normally use is burgundy, but you got to have your big black Bible somewhere. And I think that we ought to adhere to the truth that is in this Bible. By the way, it is right side up now. I just said that as a little bit of a joke, if you don't mind. But this Bible is the truth of God. And if you want to know how God feels about something, what God says about something, we go to this Bible. It's all in this book, How to Get to Heaven, how to comport ourselves among men and women who do not know God, how to comport ourselves among the church, the redeemed company. So it's all in here. And I would say it is shameful for any believer not to wear a mask. Being bold and bodaciously defying governmental officials. We don't want to make enemies of governmental officials. Now, but when they cross the line, we tell them where the line is. And that's our job. Our job is not to defy them and join political parties and be conflicted as to what is true, not or not true based on the news that we listen to and ingest.
Wow, well put. Now, Pastor, in sharing that, and wow, that was very, 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 very heavy. And I hope that actually, I don't have to hope. I know that my you see me keep looking up. I'm looking at the monitors and I'm watching the thumbs going up and I'm watching the hearts going up and that kind of thing. And that's great. So as you share that with us from a biblical perspective, as you always do, and when we are confronted by individuals, and this is a loaded question, and I say but, we know that those of us that are Christians, we know that there's a certain decorum that we should use to address individuals. We know that many times, Satan is just doing what he does by trying to cause consternation and put things in our path to cause us to trip up. So, and I'm asking because and to be very honest with you, I had a young man ask me the similar question just day before yesterday, because this person would not allow him to be civil. Is there a little advice that you might can share with us regarding that? Because we know sometimes people will not allow us to be civil and try to use being believers against us.
Sure. As a matter of fact, I think what I would do, Reverend Lars, when the conversation deteriorates to the point that where we are going to show forward something that we are not, I think that what we do is we walk away from the conversation. It has ceased to be a positive conversation. And so I think that everything is broken down to the point that we're not going to get over our point any longer. And we're just going to have to commend them to God, say, God, Lord God, I've gone as far as I can go. I give you this person. I think I would walk away from the conversation. We know that true dialogue will always lead us to discovery. True dialogue. So if I can find someone who is willing to be civil and dialogue with me and to listen to me, and I truly listen to them, then we're both going to discover something that we didn't know before. So I would say to Christians who find themselves in those positions, I would just walk away from them. I wouldn't say, I would gently walk away and say, look, I see right now that we have met an impasse. So let's come back at another time if you're willing. And may the Lord bless you. But if they want to argue, they'll have to argue with themselves. I think that's how it should be.
Thank you very much. Well, Pastor, listen, I have heard so much, and I'm going to call Andrea out. I have heard so much from Andrea, and even in my studies, when she mentioned you to me, and I started looking at all of the great work that you're doing, literally across the country. Will you share with us some of that work? And I obviously you can't share it all, But if you would share with us some of the work that you are doing across the country.
Well, firstly, let me say your niece, Andrea, is amazing.
Well, thank you.
One of the most amazing people I know, and one of the most trustable, trustworthy. I like to use the word trustable in that you're able to be trusted, you know. So I love her so much. She's been just amazing. She's been true to form, never wavering. And so I would say that. And so I don't know what she told you about us, but let me tell you a little bit about it. Firstly,
it was all good. It was all good.
Well, firstly, I would say that I have a number of years ago, when I was a young pastor, very young, we had formed a church approximately, maybe it was 2 years. And I would just do very well, love God with all my heart, left the petroleum industry to be a pastor, to found this church. And one day, I don't know, just like the question you asked just a moment ago about being civil, so I don't remember exactly what happened, but whatever happened, I was struggling with it. And I said, God, like, if you want me to live this life, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it. I can't do it anymore. I don't know how to do it in my human strength. And it was that at that juncture that I decided to follow Christ Jesus, and to have Jesus being our gift from the Father, and that Jesus would be everything to me, that Jesus would be the source of every blessing. I don't want any blessing outside Jesus. That Jesus would be the supply of all of my need. I would want that. And at that juncture, I needed some strength to live this Christian life. I needed something powerful outside myself. And then I needed Jesus as my solution. That is, for every problem I would have, I needed him to be the solution to that problem. And I found Jesus to be the answer to all of my questions. And so with that in mind, I thought to take this knowledge to the world, because all over the world, the church is, as it were, Reverend Lars, conflicted. There are all kinds of things that are being taught. So what I wanted to do, and I felt like God was sending me to do that, and that is to make life simple. For example, when I was a young man in the church in my 20s, I suppose, in the 70s, and then in the 80s, and I was probably older in the 80s. But anyway, I remember all of the teachings, or many of the teachings, not all, but many of the teachings were about 7 steps to faith, for example, or the 8 steps to hope, or the 10 steps to a successful life. And I always thought, this is so wrong. The Bible is meant to be simple, where even the uneducated can get it, grasp it, as well as the educated. And we've got to do something different. And that's when I found that Christ is God's answer. Christ is that one answer that fits every question, every situation in our lives. So then we teach this in our church, that is, consistently, not saying, okay, we're going to teach on marriage this time. We got that's a Band-Aid. We got a problem. Oh, we're going to teach on the youth now because they're having some issues, but now we're going to teach this or that. So, or we're going to teach the business people because now they need to make more money. Blah, blah. So we didn't do that. We showed them where Jesus was the go-to person, because if I got into a situation, for example, which every day is, we have those situations where you need faith, and there's 7 steps, and I only remember 6 of them. Does that mean that my faith is negated and I fail? You know, so I said, no, I just need to call on Jesus, that he's my faith. And so we took this reality to many, many nations of the world. My wife was saying this morning on our broadcast, our online broadcast, that she said, I don't remember how many nations we've gone to, and I don't either, and I'm going to dig that up, but there are a plethora of nations that we've gone to. Philippines, West African nations, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Zambia, Zimbabwe was the first African nation, Egypt, oh Lord, Kenya. We just been to so many, I don't, Namibia, so there's just too many to try to recount. And then nations of Asia, with this one message. And what we find is that when we bring this message, which I think is the pure gospel, the gospel is not about a lot of things. It's about a man. It's about one man who came into this world to save sinners. And so the Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. So that is the power of the gospel. And we take that simplicity to all of the nations of the world. And when our brothers and sisters from around the world hear that, wow, they think, oh, this is what we've always waited for. We've not wanted a multiplicity of things to remember. We wanted one person to remember and all the aspects that he brings in living a holy life.
That's it. Pastor, allow me to ask this question. And this may be a little controversial, so I'm going to warn you up front.
Okay.
I have a lot of, I would wish, like all of us should know people of different ethnicities.
Yes.
And sometimes some of my less melanated brothers and I get in conversation, especially when people are talking about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee and disrespecting the flag and all of this, that, and the third. And I keep asking them, I said, now, when we try to divert from what's really going on in the name of a country or respecting something, and we have the audacity when it says God so loved the world, and I repeat that to them, that he gave his only begotten son, whosoever believeth in him. I said, so where did this God bless America? And you try to get your undies in a bunch because people are trying to get you to understand that's part of the problem, in my opinion, because we are trying to separate. So that's why I say it may be a little controversial, the question I'm asking. When you have, or if you, when you encounter individuals that try to make a case for trying to set America aside, like we somehow have this special covenant with God, as opposed to being world revivers, because I know that you just shared with me, and you and your wife, and you guys can't even remember the number of places you've gone in the world to help spread the gospel. Have you ever had to encounter individuals that would try to make a case for singling out God bless America, as opposed to God so loved the world until he gave his only begotten son?
I think the church is unnecessarily conflicted. I think further that the church, the visible church, and I want to make a differentiation between the true church and the visible church. In the visible church, we find that we have totally been co-opted, that the world system has encroached and has taken our minds into and caused us to believe things that are not true to the gospel. So that's the first thing. We have to recognize that we've been co-opted. Somebody told me, or I read somewhere, I don't remember, where Harriet Tubman was being complimented on having been just a great abolitionist, and it rescued so many people. And it was told me, or I read somewhere, that she said, I could have saved more if they had only known they were slaves. And so I think that it is incumbent upon us, the men of God, women of God, to rescue our brothers and sisters from their ignorance and from that co-option, that where they have allowed the enemy to take their mind, because this is how the enemy has taken our minds, is that the enemy has made an idol out of America. And so many of us who stand to gain from America has adhered ourselves to this idol. So now American is an idol. And that's one of the reasons probably we're going through so many difficulties, is that America has become an idol for so many in the church. And so what I would say is that we need to remove that spiritual blindness. All of the people who are against this and against that are not bad people, but they have been taken captive, and it is up to us to rescue our brothers. And the only way we can rescue our brothers and our sisters is by straight doses of the truth. Straight doses of the truth, not being mean or angry, but straight doses of the truth. The fact is that I said this morning in my message that God's throne, his foundation of his throne, are righteousness and justice. And so if I am saying hallelujah, Jesus, hallelujah, thank you, God, and I don't have that as my foundation, righteousness and justice, then I'm just a bag of wind. And so I think we have to tell our brothers and sisters that in kindness. Now, our church is a very multiracial, multi-ethnic, multinational church. It's not a huge church, but it is quite a large church. And I have some of our most wonderful members who are Caucasian and other races. The most wonderful members loved me, supported me for over 3 decades, many of them standing by me. And so my job is to embrace them and love them, those who might think somewhat differently than I do. I'm to love them, but I'm to tell them the truth. And I'm also to tell African Americans who may think that, okay, we should overload this to the other side. And I say to both of us, although we have, I think, been vilified and treated wrongly more than any group, I think we've been treated that way. But at the same time, although we have borne the bulk of the burden of taking justice and making change, not just social change, but this is a spiritual thing for me. And it's deeper than just, as it were, some veneer social change statement like that. And so I think that it is an incumbent upon us to continue doing what we've been doing, and that is we're carrying the burden. So that means that we're going to have to love while we change things. We have to recognize that. And so I think that rather than saying I am right and you're wrong, which we do have a good case for, but I don't think that that's what we ought to be doing at this juncture. But we should say this is what the righteousness of God demands. This is what the righteousness of God demands. And our brothers and sisters who are right now not disposed to that, I think will become disposed to that. And those who do not become disposed to that, they may never have been born again. They just may have been tares that were sown in the midst of us. I believe we're going to come to the right the same resolution, the same conclusion, the same view about it, black, white, brown, red, or yellow.
Very beautifully put. Pastor, allow me, I know we need to let you go, but allow me to just share with
some more minutes, if you will, and I'll send to my team that they're to wait on me.
Okay. I want to give our some, you have some visitors here. Just want to give them the opportunity if they would like to grab a camera, if they had a comment they'd like to make or a question for you, because we know you have to go. I just want to extend that courtesy. So but I see no one grabbing a camera. So Pastor Lavelle, it's certainly been great having you here, and we want to respect your time. I know you have other things to do. We certainly want to do this again. And we'll do it on Zoom next time, Pastor. We'll do it on Zoom, and we will.
Reverend Lars, as long as we have your niece, we can do it on Google Chrome.
Okay. Well, thank you, Reverend. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been great. We thank you for all the thumbs up. We thank you for all of the hearts, and feel free to all of you guys have my email, and for those that do not have it, it's the Nobody Asked Me Guy Show @gmail.com. If you have extra questions or impending questions, send those to me, and I will forward those to Pastor Lavelle. So again, we want to invite you guys to come back each Sunday at 5 p.m. to Soul Sunday, where we talk hope, innovation, motivation, transformation, and we try to get you to your destiny. I know that many of you have gotten valuable information today. I certainly have. So again, Pastor Donald Lavelle, we want to thank you so very much for joining us, and we are more than happy that you're here. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much, Reverend Lars. I want to say to you, this has been a joy for me to be with you, to see you face to face, as it were, and to be a part of your program. I trust that we've said something that was beneficial. I also want to say that I am personally, our church, we are committed to preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is the liberating gospel. So regardless of what people say, it will liberate you. It will make you free for the first time in your whole life. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to say something on your program.
Thank you for being with us, sir.
Hey.
We want you to have a great and blessed day. And again, thank you to our audience and to our guests. We want everybody to have a great, blessed day.